14,500 right now?
No, sir. Unfortunately, we lost.
Less than that?
Yes, sir. We about 13,900. Yeah,
So
this
then
is
that would be less than 50, I mean, less than 55%.
no, sir. We feeding 8,000 over 8,000 students.
2,000,
Yeah,
okay.
and then 13. I didn't do the math. Yeah, maybe you're right. What do you say? 55, sir?
Right, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's maybe 55. So to break even, if I
57.
remember correctly, yeah, sit on 60. I mean, I think I said about
Yeah,
60%, but
and,
yeah,
and
maybe.
what I'm getting at, Dr. Streets, it's something that's a positive,
Yeah.
because what I'm seeing here is our CMP, all our staff is intact. Has anyone been let go, as
No,
well as
sir.
transportation? They're all intact?
Everybody's in tech, sir. Everybody
Okay.
kept his or her job, sir.
So what is it that can be done? Because obviously 8,000, that's good considering where
Yes.
we're at.
Yeah.
But what can we do to get it closer to that threshold that we want? I mean, I think it's very doable, especially if most of our kids are at home, and the numbers that you mentioned earlier that are coming to the campus is much less than what's staying at home. And obviously the ones at school are getting fed based on their campuses. So what else can be done to improve and utilize both CNP and obviously the transportation that you have going? Because maybe it just needs to be tweaked, but I think it's a good deal. But can you imagine if we can reach more than that number, 8,000, and that's going to help your CNP program?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
more importantly, feed the kids at home, breakfast, lunch. And are we doing still afternoon snacks?
No, sir. We're not
Lunch
doing it.
only?
No, sir. Yeah, we're doing breakfast and lunch. Breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you. So, yes, Dr. Valdez, thank you. And I think we have Mr. Lou Arias with us, so give us an update. He probably will expand a little bit on what I discussed earlier as far as where we stand as far as funding.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the board, superintendent. My name is Lou Arias. I am with Gallagher Benefit Services. For the benefit of the new board members, I am the executive for Donna ISD when it comes to your self-funded health plan. And so on a quarterly basis, I provide an update on where you are in comparison to what you've budgeted and where claims are. And then we also discuss some opportunities where we might find some savings to help offset any increases. And so what I'd like to do is share my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what we're going to be going over is your claims through the month of September for this year, 2020. So you were Blue Cross Blue Shield and you're self-funded. Now, I also wanted to remind the board that you all did change your effective date on your health plan to a 9/1, whereas last year we started on a 10/1. So you did have a short year because we started early. And so when I'm going through some of these numbers, that'll make sense in the presentation. And unfortunately, because we started earlier on the reporting side with Blue Cross Blue Shield and on our end, there was some overlap because we had your effective date as 10/1 and not 9/1. And so there's some slides that I do not have that you guys typically see, which is the high cost claimants. The good news is your October numbers will be out in a few weeks, and once I get those, I can send those to the superintendent for your distribution, so you can see those high cost claims. But I do know what they are. We have a snapshot from Blue Cross Blue Shield for what that 11 months looks like, and again, it's 11 months. And I don't know if I should go over the ESI cost saving opportunities. That's a quite lengthy presentation. I know some of this is on consent on the ESI recommendations. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. So what this is your combined plans. As you know, Donna has two plans that are self-funded. And this is both of those plans combined. Every month here, which we're starting with September, you'll have you'll have a head count, which is the number of subscribers. The next number is employee only numbers. And then by tier, which one, the number of folks that are added by tier to come up with a total number, which is members. And I call those belly buttons, how many belly buttons we have covered. Then we look at your actual medical claims for the month of September is $848,000. Your pharmacy claims came out at $459,000, almost $460,000. You have some access fees, your UHC savings. You don't have any of those. Those will eventually. They have actually started tapering off because it's been a year that you've been off of UHC, and so we come up with your total claims only, of $1.3 million. Now we look at your fixed costs. These are costs that you're going to have every single month, and they are directly impacted by your headcount up here on top. And so the admin fee is $94,000, $94,591,000. That's what Blue Cross charges a month to administer your health plan for you. You also pay premium to Blue Cross Blue Shield in the form of stop-loss insurance. The district only takes the first $300,000 of claims risk, and after that, the stop-loss kicks in. So that premium is just under $200,000 at $199,956 for the month of September. And your total fixed costs are $294,000. So when we add the fixed costs to your claims payments, we'll add those together. Those will show up down here in a different line. So what we do now is we take your total plan cost. When we add those in, it's $1.6 million. Now we take the employee contributions. This is what the employees kick in, whether they bought up on the high plan from the medium plan, and if they're adding dependents onto the plan, they pay out of their paycheck to add those dependents. So the net employer cost is 1.3 million. I'm sorry, 1.3 million. The employee contribution is 235,000 of that 1.3. The budgeted cost, and so that combines what the district pays per head plus the employee's contribution, and that's what your budgeted cost is for this month. I get a file on a monthly or quarterly basis from the finance department, and they tell us what they put into the fund for that month for claims. And so it doesn't always necessarily equal this, the headcount times the fees. And so the actual cost was $1.6 million. So for the month of September, you're actually at a deficit of $410,000. Now, I don't want you to be alarmed because that is a big number. It's the first month out of the year, out of your new plan year. We still have 12 more months to go. There will be months where you're going to have a surplus to help offset that. But this is a big number, but I don't want you to be, it's too early to panic on that. September was a highly utilized month. If we compare it to where we were last year, you had a deficit of $466,000. So you're, let me see if I, is this window pane covering up the, sorry. I went a little too fast. You actually have a, let me move this. You actually have a difference of $56,000. You're doing $56,000 better than you did last year, even though you're at a deficit. If I go into the medium plan, now we're just talking about the medium plan itself. This was all plans. Now we're talking about the medium plan, and I'm not going to go through all of these numbers other than the head count. You have 1,600 on the medium plan. That's where the majority of the employees sit. We look at claims at 734,000, pharmacy at 352. We bounce that up against, we add up your fixed cost and your stop loss. This plan, the medium plan for the month of September is costing $1.3 million. Last year, this plan cost you $1.4 million. So there's a difference of $81,000. You're doing $81,000 better on the medium plan this time of year in September. If we look at that medium plan, 55% of the cost was medical claims, 26% of that was pharmacy, 6% of that was your admin fees, 13% was stop loss premiums. Again, the total cost for the medium plan was 1.3. Now we go over to the high plan. This is the plan that has a lower deductible than the medium plan. Folks pay out of their pocket to get into the high plan. There's 238 subscribers, 479 members. Medical claims on the high plan were 114,000. On the pharmacy, they were 77,000. Your total net claim payments were $192,000. We add in your admin costs. This plan for September cost $225,000. This time last year, you were at $267,000. So you're doing $42,000 better for the month of September than you did last year. We look at your high plan, 51% of the cost are for your medical claims, 34% for pharmacy. That's kind of high for pharmacy for the high plan. 5% cost is for admin, 10% is for stop loss. Total cost again was $225,000 on your high plan. Does anybody have any questions before I start? Let me back up a little bit. So the slides that are missing here was the next slides where the folks that typically are at half or 50%, which would be 150,000 of your stop loss. It's the first month. You're not going to have that on there. But you did have some claims. So there were a bunch of other claims. The top 3 diagnosis, and this will absolutely show up going forward again, because we moved from 9-1 to 10-1, they kind of stacked up on top of each other. The top 3 are neoplasms, which is cancer, endocrine, which is diabetes, and a couple of other diseases, but mostly diabetes. And then you had some parasitic infection. And so those are the top 3. Again, once I have those ironed out in the next month, because then the errors will be corrected, I can certainly share those with you, and they will certainly show up on the next report. What I also wanted to do is just give you a quick snapshot. It's by no means a end of the year report, but it is a snapshot that Blue Cross provided. This is on the medical only, because as you know, your pharmacy sits with ESI. And speaking of ESI, at the end of your plan year, which we just finished, they do the audit that we promised that they would do, or that we would do rather. So we do the audit. We make sure that their discounts and rebates that they said they were going to hit are actually met. We send it to them. They send us the data just to substantiate that. If they did not hit it, there's some negotiation back and forth. And then we will have probably in the first quarter of 2021, a completed audit, and that'll determine whether Donna ISD is due monies for their shortcomings. We don't want to see money back to the district, because that means they missed their mark and you paid the claim at a higher rate in the first place. We'd rather it be even and that they hit their marks. But ESI will be conducting that audit very shortly and have it ready by the beginning of the first quarter. But for medical is with Blue Cross Blue Shield. This speaks to when we made changes from United Healthcare to Blue Cross Blue Shield. The object was to lower the cost of care. I think this slide does a really good job of showing that. So Blue Cross paid $6.8 million through August. Remember, not October, so it's missing a month here. September, and it's actually missing 2 months, September and October, because last year you were at 10-1. What this equates to is about $181 per member per month, or $287 per employee per month. As you know, the district contributes $505 to each employee. The Blue Cross network discounts, that was $23.4 million, or 71.4% of covered claims. That is their discount. When we went through the RFP process, this is how we determined, and we went through the board and a committee as to who was going to get the business. Blue Cross had the best deal. They were paying much less for claims under their agreement than UHC was. You have a 99.9% of your claims paid in network. What that means is you have I don't even know, it's very, very few people, hardly any, that go out of network, which means this network is broad enough for Donna, with in-network employees or in-network providers. So your medicals paid PM by service category. Inpatient was $41, outpatient $54. Professional fees, those are your doctor visits, $85. Here's where we want to spend a little bit of time here, and we'll be looking at these going into the next plan year. Or actually, we just started the next plan year. Your high-cost claimants that were over $50,000, you had 20 high-cost claimants this last plan year. That accounted for about 2.8 million of this 6.8, or 43% of the district's overall spend. And I think you've heard me say this before, about 20% of the of the population usually accounts for a big chunk, in this case 43, of your entire cost spend for the plan, and this is only medical. Some key cost drivers, the type diagnostic categories are neoplasms, as I just brought up, endocrine, which would be diabetes, and nervous system conditions. Chronic conditions, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, hypertension, and coronary artery disease are things that we need to start looking at going forward. As you saw in Dr. Aziz's presentation earlier, this is the first time in a good while, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we've actually did not end the year in negative, and that Donna didn't have to provide an influx of cash as they did previous years. And that's a good thing. Here's the hard part. Now we got to stay there. We have to make sure that we stay in the black and not in the red. And so looking at these conditions and these diagnostic categories, we're going to be looking and working with Blue Cross to find out how we can put a dent in the next 11 months of the health plan to help offset some of this cost. I will tell you that diabetes is probably your number one indicator at the district. Those are the ones that are already actually diagnosed. The real concern is how many diabetics that we have that are diagnosed that are not treating or not compliant with their care. And then how many folks out there do we have that don't even know that they're diabetic because they haven't done their routine annual exams? And so we're going to be looking and see if we can put a dent in that and come up with some recommendations that the district might want to offer going forward to help offset some of this cost. You guys do have an MD Live, which is your telemedicine benefit. You had 499 members registered for MD Live. We think we need to get this up considering the number of employees that you have at Donna. 250 of those are registered members and have had a virtual visit, and everyone that's had the visit has given 100% satisfaction rate. So that's good to hear as well. And then this is just a breakup of how your group stacks up. You have 3,431 members. 2,100 of those are their employees, and the average age of Donna's group is 35.2 years of age. So that'll conclude my presentation as far as the medical update. Again, this was for 9/1. This is the first time we start this early. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Sure, I've got one question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
District is paying 505 for both the high and the medium, correct? What is the employee contribution for the high and the medium?
I don't have that offhand. I used to include that in one of my slides, and maybe I need to start doing that for the benefit of the new board members to show the actual contributions. I can certainly send those to you via email.
Right. I was just curious because I know that it used to be at a very low rate, and obviously things are looking good, and the district is paying the 505 for both the high and the medium. So I was just curious, what is the employee share at this point in time this year?
Like I said, I don't have those numbers, but what I can tell you is that what the employee pays for their share did not change last year. I mean, going into this new plan year. And last year when we went from UHC to Blue Cross, it did not change those rates either. What did change, sir, in order to offset that cost were the benefits themselves. The benefits were changed quite dramatically, to be honest with you. You guys had two plans that had deductibles less than $1,000, but the contributions weren't paying for the claims that were coming through. So, and a lot of that had to do with this here. UHC was paying much more for that $23 million of claims than Blue Cross. And so by making those plan changes, we went through a process that included a committee, and we basically asked the committee, we showed them several different options, and I showed those to the board as well, is that the decision is, would you prefer that we raise the deductions, which is the amount that comes out of your paycheck to help offset the shortfall, or would you prefer that the deductibles be raised and contributions stay the same? And so through that process, the committee decided that they would prefer to keep the rates the same, to hold rates. They didn't want any additional monies coming out of their paycheck. And so then we made the changes to the deductibles, and they were quite dramatic. And we also started funding to the maximum exposure this last year, which would explain why this year we had a surplus and we weren't in a deficit. But I can certainly get those rates for you. I can send those to the superintendent tonight for distribution. Maybe I need to, like I said, I should maybe start including those on the slide for the benefit of everyone new to the board.
Yes, thank you. And I want to just, I know, and I want to thank Mr. Castillo for all the questions. We were planning on having like a session where we invite all our new board members, and it will give you almost like a crash course where all the, I mean, I think last time when I had Dr. Valdez, I think it was like 5 or 6 hours, right, Doc? And so we're gonna give you as much update as possible. I know Mr. Valdez and Mr. Castillo, they're not stranger to the district, and because they just retired a couple of years ago. I know a lot of stuff, but I want to give you as much information, especially to Mr. Reyna, who's new to our district. So we will give you guys a very good information. We'll plan it, and we'll select some dates for you around your schedule, and you let us know. We'll do that. Yes, I would like, thank you, Dr. Valdez. I would like to pull item, it's under human resource, item number 3, approve Wells Gallegos Legal Services Retainer Agreement. I'll pull that. I will table it for next time.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Board members, I know that we have 3 of you that are new, and I don't know if you all have any other extensive questions on any item on the consent agenda. If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Colonel?
Need a motion.
Oh, okay, Fernando?
I'm going to abstain since I am not familiar with all the information. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Valdez? Ms. Watts? Mr. Reyna? Okay, so I vote in favor also, motion carries. We will now be moving into the governance report, conservator monthly report for September 2020. Mrs. Romero?
I have the monthly report for September. And on Thursday, I met with the new board members and we covered this, but I'm going to cover it now for everyone so that they do know the background before this on this reporting. What I do want to mention is under the governance section that I had mentioned previously that my monthly conservators report is public information and is presented in open session. And any questions having to do with the monthly report need to be answered during it, asked, and they will be answered during the open session. And then we will move on to the financial accountability. Business office is operating well, as far as I can see, and they are preparing for the audit. And they have the external auditors presently there right now, and they hope to have the audit done by December. On the academic accountability, I had talked to them, and one of the things that they had done was the beginning of year assessments that were given to 4th to 9th graders, and the assessments were administered and they were received on October the 9th, and they're going through that data to see what interventions they will be doing on the assessments and with the students. The other item that we have is under statutory compliance. PEA had a finding on the individual graduation plans that the district administered way back in 2018. Dr. Aceves took care of all of that. On October the 21st, she had a training for your principals and deans and counselors. So that was taken care of. And then she also had a handbook that was prepared. And as far as I know, all the corrective action plans were submitted into TEA. And I even got an email back where TEA received all the information. This wasn't due until December, but they went ahead and submitted all information into TEA. So that is out of there. Then under the general other activities, Dr. Sorolla had a staff development on employment policies this November the 10th and 11th. And I believe he still has the middle schools to address, but he's already addressed a good part of your district staff. And then Mr. Lou Arias already addressed the issue on the health insurance that, and so did Dr. Aziz, that we did add about 900,000 to the fund balance. So I think it stands probably at about $1.2 million as the fund balance for health insurance, which is a good thing because now you are in the black. And then the other two sheets are just when I come here for board meetings and so forth. Are there any questions on my report?
Ms. Romero, I don't necessarily have a question to me, and I guess maybe it's more of a concern.
Okay.
And this is only because we did get a couple of constituents that did reach out to us. And I know this is something that I probably would prefer to discuss with you in executive, but I'm gonna honor your request to have everything answered in public. I know there was a meeting last week, I believe it was on Friday, for Lone Star Governance, and our district took some pictures and posted them in our Facebook
Okay.
for the district. And I did get some comments from some constituents that they forward us a copy of the picture where you appeared to be asleep. And I had a really hard time maybe explaining that to our constituents. And I mean, I just want to let you know, right now you said that our fund balance for the insurance is in the black.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've already met the accountability rating. The annual financial audit rating has already been met.
Correct.
Also, I think the district has moved in a very, very, very positive direction. We've met every criteria that has been placed before us. So basically, I think maybe it's just time to reflect on, maybe it's time to make a change as in respect to that area. So I just wanted to let you know that that was a hard one. And typically the way I infer it and the way I interpret it, when someone is basically falling asleep, I interpret them as being bored, or maybe bored because everything is going so well that there's nothing that's alerting me. So that I kind of see it that it's a good thing too. So I just wanted to share that with you. And it was difficult for me to respond to our constituents on
Well,
that one.
I will be glad to respond. I don't believe I ever was asleep, because if anything, Dr. McMahon had a very engaging 2-day conference, and people were always we were always doing little projects or conversing with each other and then reporting to the group. So if they caught me, maybe I was closing my eyes and so forth. I don't remember ever having fallen asleep or anything like that. I would say Dr. McMahon had a very, very good conference that kept us very engaged. There was we ran out of time. He had to cut some things out of it.
And I think that was a picture that was posted on our district website that is still there. And I think as constituents are seeing it, I guess they're inferring that you appear to be asleep. I'm not saying you were, I'm just saying constituents interpret it in that manner, because that post is still posted on our district website.
On our district website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I really don't go to social media or anything like that, but.
Any other questions, board members, on the conservative report?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I'd like to just make a comment, and I did understand what Ms. Romero mentioned, that anything that we would want to bring up, do it here in public. As a new board member, is there something that you are going to share with us regarding our district status? What it was that initially went from the monitor to conservator?
Yes,
what it
sir.
was that you were looking for, and then where do we stand right now as a district? And if anything, and I think we asked you that during the brief training on Thursday, and I believe your response to that was, it's up to the commissioner's discretion.
No, no,
But-
no. You could go to the very first page. We had covered this during our training, but I'll be glad to cover it again. If you will look under the very, very first page of the report.
I don't have the hard copy here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yes, go ahead.
There's the entry conditions where it says, and I'll read it to you. Initial installation, failure to file conflict disclosure statements for multiple incidents, lack of sufficient internal controls to allow the Board of Trustees to comply with the requirements of state law. The escalation was, I went from a monitor to a conservator, and the escalation was findings identified in a forensic audit that illustrated the district's inability to deliver educational services within a system of internal controls that assures funds are efficiently and effectively expended, and then the annual financial report not submitted by the due date. That was my entry conditions. And then if you notice where it says where you are at, I mean, I can jump the monitor conservator role in the action plan, or I can cover all of those.
The only question that I had was alluded to, where are we now? We know about the past. Where are we now? And what does it look like for our district to in essence, be given the green light and we can be conservator free?
The action, I guess I'll go to the action plan challenges. Self-funded health insurance to operate in the black without being subsidized by the general fund by 8/31/21. Board members refrain from providing inputs or inputs. Early college campus ready for 2021 instructional ready. Comply with agreed corrective action plan regarding IGC anomalies, TEA complaint number so that's been done, so that will be coming off. And then the biggie that you have is an F campus to be upgraded to at least a D campus.
Okay, that I appreciate it, because that's current information, and
Yes,
that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, the time is 7:30 and we will now be moving into executive session as authorized by Texas Government Code Sections 55.071, 072, 073, 074, 075, 076, 082, 083, and 084.
Okay.
I ate it all already. I ate all my chocolate cake. I was craving something sweet. Numbers on 1, 2. We're still waiting for Mr. Valdez, and Reina. Valdez and Reina. Oh, there's Mr. Reina. Just Joe Valdez. Mr. Valdez, are you on already? Trans-East is there already.
I think you're gonna have that same issue if you go through that one. No one. Okay. We have everybody.
We have everybody? I can start. Okay, the time is 9:06 and we are back in open session to take action on matters discussed in executive session. Item A, discussion and possible action to approve superintendent's recommendation of personnel, approval of recommendation for professionals to include hiring and termination recommendations, no action. Item B, discussion and possible action to approve to employ the Director of Advanced Academics. At this time, I entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second.
Colonel? Joe Valdez? Ms. Watts? Mr. Reina? I also vote in favor, motion carries. Discussion and possible action of level 3 grievance of, is there a motion regarding the disposition of grievance for Esmeralda Lozano?
I move that the board deny the grievance and uphold the decision of administration of the level 3. Level 2, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Colonel? Mr. Valdez? Ms. Watts? Mr. Reina? I also vote in favor, motion carries. Discussion and possible action of level 3 grievance of Sandy Medellin, no action. D, discussion and possible action to approve pending or contemplated litigation, settlement matters, and/or matters where the professional duty under state board requires private consultation with the school attorney, no action. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Mr. Castillo?
Favor.
Valdez? Watts? Mr. Reina? I also vote in favor, motion carries, meeting adjourned.